Man, cinema was like a whole era unto itself. The song Cinema. What a flex to name a song after a completely different medium as well. So funny.
Like a movie called Book.
Yes. Oh man, The Book. Have you seen The Book? It's pretty good. Pretty good movie.
I mean, The Book was better. The movie The Book was better than this movie.
The movie The Book. The book that it was based on. I'm getting lost in this joke.
Yeah. Race towards an early Dave. Welcome to Pink Floyd, the podcast where we watch every movie ever made to see if it syncs up with Pink Floyd's 1973 magnum opus, The Dark Side of the Moon. My name is Gareth Blackler, and I'm having 2000 fun here with my co-host, a hell of a guy. It's James Barron. Hello, James.
Hello, it's me, the soft-spoken computer of the podcast, here to tear this down from within. How are you, Gareth? Wow. I can't believe that you actually said 2000 and fun. We joked about that off mic, but that made it, and I'm loving it. Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Much like a certain film, there's nothing that gets cut from this podcast.
Oh.
We keep it all in, even if it's a little long.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And just like this film, the incomparable 2001 A Space Odyssey, the Stanley Kubrick masterpiece. The other Stanley in our lives. It's Kubrick and Tucci. That was the logical leap from last week. Surely.
It is. My brain went to Stuttering Stanley from, what's it called? The Sixth Sense?
Oh, wow. Good work. Man, I cannot name another Stanley for the life of me. The Stanley Parable is a video game? I don't know. Anyway, plenty of good Stanleys are available.
Flat Stanley, he's something.
Oh, is he?
Stan from Eminem.
Yep.
Yeah.
the titular Stan.
From Eminem.
From Eminem. I think he would appreciate that. The Stan from Stan.
He definitely would.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about a singular Stan.
Yeah, and like Stan, are you sincerely the biggest fan of this movie? What's your relationship with 2001, A Space Odyssey?
2001, possibly I am a big stan. I am a huge fan of this movie. I think it is definitely a masterpiece of cinema. It's like an insane art project of a movie. And it was introduced to me by my parents when I was definitely too young. Absolutely. I watched this movie probably when I was about 12, I think, and that was too early to be confronted by one's own mortality in space. I think it's shaped me into the being that I am now, the trans space being that encompasses all of time. I do love this movie though. I think it massively holds up. I've seen it heaps of times, loads and loads of times. Not as much as I've listened to this album, but I've seen it a lot. Probably upwards of this is probably my 10th or 11th time watching it. And it's a long flick as well. So, what about you? What's your relationship with this film?
I remember really wanting to see this movie, and the fact it's so available now, it was really nice, and it took me straight back to just going to Video Easy.
Wow.
Which was maybe a half-hour walk from my house because I couldn't drive, so I'd have to walk it.
Dang.
And it's next to the fish and chip shop. So you'd go there and you'd order your fish and chips, and then in the 10 minutes while they're cooking it, you'd go and try to find a film. And my goodness, it was so hard to find classic films back in the day. Like, I couldn't get this movie, and I couldn't get the Stanley Kubrick Shining either. I had to watch the weird made-for-TV version that Stephen King actually likes.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. But it was so easy to get the book. So I read the book. Whoa. 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, which was written alongside the script. And it does a good job trying to explain such a trippy movie.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot more gaps filled in the book. Because this is sort of just like large swaths of like color and not a lot of lines, I would say. It's abstract, you could say, in a lot of ways. Abstract filmmaking.
It would have been amazing if the book for the last like 25 pages was just bright colors, no words.
That would be sick. I would love that. Oh my god. Just like different illustrations, and that's how you end the book. And you've got like one final chapter where your character just gets very old. Wow.
So I finally got to see this at a sleepover in high school, which wasn't the right way to watch such a slow movie. And then I tried again on a Sunday morning. It finally played on TV on a Sunday morning, and I tried again to watch it. And again, not right vibe, because mum and dad had friends over while I was trying to watch it. And they were just having a cup of tea and some scones, and I was just like,
trying to appreciate the masterpiece, Mum. No, I don't want a biscuit. Yes, I do want a biscuit.
Yeah, please. So yeah, I actually, because since then, the only time I've seen it now has been on my laptop while Pink Floyd played.
Oh my god. Oh man, I feel sorry, honestly, because like on its own, it is a masterwork. If you can watch it like uninterrupted in its entirety and not fall asleep because all of your friends are around you, like I think it's well worth a watch. I think this movie massively holds up today, which is wild for something made in like the 60s. Like, like a sci-fi from the 60s still holding up. Like, especially with like special effects and stuff, it has not at all aged, which is wild.
Yeah. The only real thing it got wrong was that none of this happened in 2001.
That's true.
That's kind of it.
They got the year wrong. It is a very cool year to say. I think they chose a good year. It's never going to go well when you choose when you put a year in your title or any kind of time travel exists in your movie. We're going to get there eventually. That's the issue. And it's not going to be quite right. If it is,
someone's going to be snarky.
Yeah, if it was perfectly right, that would be terrifying. So if someone released a movie that was just completely accurate, there's no way. Oh my god. No. Maybe I should do a movie called like 2023, and it's just stuff that I think's going to happen next year. But even then, I don't think I would be able to predict what next year is going to bring.
Yeah, it's just like simple things like when they try to do it and they miss like cell phones being everywhere.
Yeah.
Or COVID. Like you can be really modest with your prediction and you're still going to get something strangely wrong.
Yeah. We'll get there for this movie. There are definitely anachronisms that we're going to cover.
Good.
But like, I'm stoked that we're finally covering this. This one's definitely a long time coming, right? And that it's one that definitely has been associated with syncing before. The process that we do on this show, playing
and also associated with Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that we will get to.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm excited. Should we just jump in? Should we talk about this movie right now? Should we?
Hey, you know what? Let's do that. Let's give that a try.
Okay. Whoa. All right, let's dive in. Instead of opening titles, this movie has the balls to just start with 3 minutes of darkness.
Right.
Which is insane. It's so good. There's just, it's just black screen with like an orchestral like score ramping up behind it that we, of course, are not hearing.
It is worth pointing out that this movie, all the music that's traditionally in it, when you're not listening to Pink Floyd over it, is existing classical pieces, like some of the finest classical pieces from humanity. But there was an actual score written for this movie that was discarded, and the guy who wrote the score didn't find out until the premiere.
Yeah. That is just brutal. I cannot believe... I read that as well, and I could not believe it. What a rude move. No one is, like... And to sit through... I wonder if he made it through the whole movie. Like, waiting. He's like, is he going to use my score, like, at all? Like... Just sitting there fuming as more and more of the movie takes place and none of your work has made it to it. That would be so frustrating. Poor guy.
The only thing worse would be to have made a score, it doesn't get used, and then two weirdos don't even listen to that score. They listen to Pink Floyd.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I appreciate your work. Hopefully he managed to, like, release it, like, get the rights to it and release it on its own merits, because I bet it's bloody good. Like, give the man some props. I hope so. So, 3 minutes of darkness, which means for us, we are in, we have all of Speak to Me and going into Breathe, right when the MGM logo appears sort of mid Breathe. Long you'll live, high you'll fly is the line that plays when this happens. Now, notably, with syncs of this movie, and with syncs in general, there are a lot of rules about when you should start syncing. And what that means. A lot of the time, people suggest that you start syncing a movie from this opening title card, like from the MGM logo is where you should start the album.
It's always MGM, eh?
Yeah, and we have not done that. I just want to like leave that proviso in. The rules of our show is that we start when the movie starts. Sorry, if there's opening titles coming up later, then we aren't starting there. We ain't changing the rules for every movie ever made. That would our graphs would be out of whack. Sorry. So if you disagree with the way that we're doing this, fair enough. You can please write in to syncfloydpod@gmail.com, but we aren't going to sync it another time. Apologies.
Yeah. Well, like, our argument is, did the filmmakers intend for it to sync with Dark Side of the Moon, or did Pink Floyd write the album to sync with the movie? If they wanted you to start from a certain point, they would have started the movie from that point to make it sync. Like, they're not going to... Like, you can't live by these arbitrary suggestions. Otherwise, there's no intention in the syncing.
You're so right.
Something this insane has to have rules.
Exactly. I agree. We've got to have the method to the madness. Like, without that, we are lost and adrift in space, Gareth.
Without that, we're doing a podcast about whether or not people's indicators sync up with the radio in our cars. Like, you can't do it.
Do they, though? Sometimes.
Tune in on a Patreon exclusive.
The Blinkercast. Blink Floyd.
Blink Floyd.
There it is. Hey, whoa. Comedy chops. We got them. No, like, so this... I do love the intro here. I love that it's just darkness, because you've got to imagine people sitting in the cinema watching this for the first time. They have, like, trailers, presumably in the 60s. I don't actually know, probably. And then they're just sitting in darkness, and they just have this score ramping up, and, like, that would build so much fucking tension. It's like 3 minutes of them just sitting there in darkness. It's such a powerful thing to do with your movie. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we go from here to the intro proper, which is, of course, mid-breathe as we're here. And yes, the glorious score that would be playing is Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And it's like iconic intro, the like sunrise portion of that composition, which you will recognize it. It is heavily associated with this film, but is also just like a great piece of music. Using it's like an escalating fifth, so it's like dun dun dun, like that, like going up in stages, and then a big release, like da da, like that is the excitement, and then big timpanis coming in. It's great. It's a really powerful opening to a movie, but they do use it like 5 times throughout the movie, just so you know. They come on back to it for critical moments. But of course, we aren't having that. We're instead enjoying Breathe, the beautiful Pink Floyd song. And yeah, it's like we're on screen visually, we're having the Earth and the Moon and the Sun all rising together in like a geometric alignment. So they're perfectly centered in the screen. And it's a beautiful shot. It's obviously all fake. Like, it's all done through miniature. I think all of the space stuff is done in miniature in this movie.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool opening title to this movie. Having that iconic shot of the Earth being eclipsed by the moon, and then the sun like perfectly balanced on top of it is just such a cool image, you know? It's it's like very geometric, much like the cover of the album that we so devoutly follow, you know? This is where I'm drawing the comparisons for sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
It predates space photography or anything, so it was all based on theory at this point, how this would all look.
That's awesome.
Which is, scary.
Yeah, honestly looks pretty good, like, for not knowing what the Earth looks like from space. Like, good stuff, honestly. Anyway, oh man, that's great. I had no idea about that. So we start this movie in prehistoric times. The Dawn of Man is the title card that appears on screen. And yeah, we see an African plain, Lion King coming in, and just some like vistas of like deserts and mountains and stuff. And nothing is really syncing up for me.
Yeah, no, not in the slightest.
As we go into On the Run for this, and we're just sort of seeing like areas, like it's a nature documentary. It is nice. It's all shot really well, but you know. And yeah, we come upon...
I think a lot of it is just photos. It's not even footage.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Just my slides from my trip, from Kubrick's trip to Africa. The Kubrick safari. Love it. Yes, so we come across a tribe of prehistoric men, little monkey boys hanging out with some tapir. These are like real... I think they're all like actors dressed up in these monkey outfits.
Oh, mate. These are all mimes.
What?
These are all mimes in, very good monkey outfits.
Wow.
Who went to the zoo for hours to study how the gorillas moved around.
That's fantastic.
And the lead ape, whose name in the script and I think in the book is Moonwatcher.
Yeah.
Which is 100% us as well.
Yeah. Oh my God. If we could only live up to that.
Yeah. He's played by a man called Dan Richter, who is notable as well for getting Yoko Ono and John Lennon into heroin and then off heroin.
Oh, at least he had the decency to get them off of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He was like, boy, that was a mistake. Never mind. I didn't read the back of the label on this heroin. Turns out it's bad. What? But it makes me feel so good. Wow. Wild. Imagine getting drugs from this like monkey man.
It was the same year as well, according to what I could research. It was like 1968.
Between takes. He's just like wearing the full monkey outfit and he's like, hey, you want some heroin? I found a tool that's going to reshape the future of mankind. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh boy. This is not the view of Pink Floyd, the podcast.
No.
Wow. Yeah, they're hanging out. I do like these like real tapir as well. It's not often that you get a lot of screen time with tapir. I'm probably saying this wrong as well. Tapir? They're little trunk boys.
I did not look it up. Yeah.
They're cute. I like him. I like this animal.
Them, yeah.
Animals are cool. It's canon. And they're just like foraging for food among these creatures with the crash sound coming through here. And yeah, we fade to black and then go to them going down to like the watering hole and having a drink down there. No taper allowed. And they get chased away from the watering hole. This like tribe of monkey boys by a rival tribe coming in. There's a lot of screeching and waving of arms and carrying on. No violence. Just like they sort of like yell at each other until one team moves away. Like they aren't like fighting among each other. Importantly,
Yeah.
Just a lot of screeching and carrying on, and there's a clear hierarchy in place. And yeah, we go into time here as well, and like we've got the clocks going off as they go to the watering hole, and then as soon as the vocal kicks in for time, we like fade into the next scene, which is cool. Like things are already lining up pretty well. I'm having like actual syncs occurring.
Yeah. I was a little dismayed by this sync because it faded to the next scene, but then most of that scene is just monkeys having a sit, or apes having a sit.
Yeah.
And just kind of chilling. So I was a little disappointed that it's like, oh, okay. It's not jumping into, we're not really, I guess we are digging away the moments that make up the dull day. But
that's exactly what they're doing, Gareth. They are vibing hard.
Dang it, maybe sorry, I was wrong. Oh.
That's what time's all about, having a sit, I think. Hoisted by your own petard there.
Yeah, whoops.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that there's a hilarious shot of a zebra here, like a very fake-looking zebra with a incredibly real-looking leopard in front of it. Just hanging out. I was like, wow. This is like again, I'm so captivated by just animals, I think, in movies. But yeah, I always forget that there's like a full-on leopard in this movie. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it like attacks an ape at one point, and it's clearly a real leopard, fake ape. Like, I hope that guy was okay.
Just attacking an extra. Jesus.
Yeah.
Different times, eh? In filmmaking. Yes. But yeah, the tribe are just like hanging out, huddling together for warmth after this altercation at the old watering hole. And yeah, we see them like going through the night, like shiftedly, like looking around. These ape faces are really impressive, and we see they're like the eyes of the person moving underneath. It's like, yeah, it's quite cool.
Yeah,
realistically done. This has to be post Planet of the Apes, no? Or is this before?
I have a weird feeling it was the same year. Like, apes were just in vogue in 68. 68.
68? Here we go. 1968. Oh, I love that. Rebrand the year. If we get to rebrand all the years on this show, oh, man.
That's what we do.
Exciting. I'm so glad we have this power. Yes. So the next morning, however, there is a grand change because in the center of their home, their little area where they've been hanging out, there appears a monolith, a black edifice of unknown material, like a tall black monolith is the only way I can describe it. It's
kinda,
the monolith. Yeah. And it's It's got perfectly
like
smooth edges and corners, which is unlike anything else that's ever existed on Earth at this stage, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm picturing, if you have never seen it before, it's a rectangle. Or, like, imagine something else was happening, but they had to censor it with a big black bar. Like,
yeah, right.
That's pretty much what you get with your monolith, folks.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, it's. I do like its presence as like symbolizing anything alien. The way it's introduced here, it's so foreign as an object in this landscape and scene that it's just like so clearly something that's not supposed to be there. It's awesome. It's a great way to introduce this this powerful object / artifact. And yeah, There's like the monolith itself also has like its own theme in the movie, like musical theme, with just like wailing choirs that just start cascading over each other, and it's scary as hell. It's like like up there with On the Run in terms of like scariest pieces of music ever recorded, I think. You know,
and the Monster Mash at number 3.
Whoa, it's a graveyard smash, man. It's my top 40 graveyard smashes. Yeah, it's a good one. And it's just, but instead, of course, we're still in the time solo. Yes, the creatures are all like gathering around and trying to like inch closer and closer to it as we get back into the vocals. And right as we get the like tempo change in time is when a monkey touches it for the first time. So I was like, whoa, okay. And yeah, and they're all like gathering around and like touching this strange object. And right at the end of time, hear the softly spoken magic spell is the final line of the song. And on the word spell, we cut to this shot looking up at the monolith from below, showing that the sun has risen, like peeking over its edge, and the moon is also in perfect alignment above it in like a crescent shape. And that happening freaked me out. Like that is a perfect sync. Like right on the end of the song, seeing that, I was like, okay, then. All right, maybe there is something to this. Yeah, pretty great. Also a fantastic shot.
Yeah.
Love to see it. But yeah, from here, we see the monkey boys going about their day. They get sick of this monolith. Bloody get out of here. And they're hanging out in the desert amongst the carcasses of animals. And one monkey boy looks down at the bones around him, and we have a brief like flash of that same shot of the monolith. And he picks up a bone and like starts dropping it over and over again and like just moving around, mashing it around the bones here. And then, starts picking it up and using it as like a club, bashing the other bones apart. Showing this is a crucial point in the development of mankind as a species. This movie shows mankind learning to use tools, and this change is brought about by the existence of the monolith. It's marking a stage in human evolution, or potentially causing it. This scene is also really, really well shot, and that the monkey is like throwing his hands around, like bringing down this bone, and this is intercut with the poor tapers getting like bashed in the head, showing like immediately showing the use case for this development, like proving that they've developed an ability to hunt, and this sets them above other creatures, other monkey tribes. And
it's this big long shot of him just smashing bones. And it's all set to the big vocals of Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd.
It is.
It's happening.
Just sad times. Sad times for the tapir. But it's also just like a big, powerful moment in the movie and the album. So, happy about that. Working really nice. Especially when the little monkey man, like throws his arms up in celebration about his discovery at the end. So we see that the monkeys are now like eating meat. They're all hanging out and eating tapir, and there's like also like for real baby chimpanzees in this scene as well, hanging out, just watching all these extras in a very bizarre situation.
That must be so weird for them to be like, these look like grown-ups, but then they take off their faces and they're that other animal.
Oh gosh, that's a horrific thought. I don't want to really think of. There's like a whole 2001 story from the perspective of these baby chimps there. God.
Oh, I would love that. I'd love to read that. The little chimp just grows up to never quite trust what's happening under anything.
Aww.
and like then lifts up, just unzips the whole world and goes on a epic voyage.
Okay, you've made me feel better about it. Can the working title for that story be 1968?
Of course. An ape odyssey.
Yeah.
You're like, guys, you did ape twice.
Shush. Hush now. But yes, continuing from here, I think we're still in Great Gig. Yeah, at tail end of Great Gig. The tribe reclaim the watering hole from the rivals. Now, like, standing a little bit more upright as well, like clearly marking a developmental evolutionary stage. Driving away the other tribe. They beat the crap out of one of their members with the bones, and then they succeed and celebrate. And as drives them off as the cha-ching of money is coming in.
Yeah,
and we're having all the sounds of the cash registers, etc. And as part of this victory, the creature like throws its bone up into the air, and we see it like spiraling and arcing through the air. And right as we transition from this bone to a match cut of a spaceship floating in space is when the drums kick in money. That exact moment.
Oh, dang it. I'm going to be honest. And like, part of my brain, there's a small part of my brain that is trying to fight, like, I'm trying to fight with my good scientific brain. That's like, this can't be the one. This can't be the one that sinks this well. If it was staring us in the face this long, if we're 97 films in, and all along it was the one people said it was, like, oh no.
Hey man,
it wasn't You've Got Mail.
We've got a lot more film to cover, Gareth. I feel like these early moments had me shook. I was like, "Yep, we're riding it out. We'll see how far this rabbit hole goes." But we'll see. We'll see together as we continue the journey into space and the future, millions of years later. We're up in space. We've got these beautiful miniature ships that I was talking about earlier. I feel like the lighting in these scenes goes a long way to make this look realistic. They clearly had they chose one really large dramatic light to represent the sun. And then just stuck with that for all of these shots, and it really works. It's very well done. And easily the part of the movie that I think holds up the best. All of these space scenes just feel right, you know?
Yeah.
There's no level of Thunderbirdsness to any of this. It could all be legitimately, it all feels real and to scale. You know it's miniature, but you're like, man, I'm there. I'm in the scene, you know? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I guess it's something that just was never beaten. I guess we've got CGI now, but they still do the same kind of miniature effects all through Star Wars, and those are the two most influential sci-fis of all time. And so you just know that works, and they would, no one tried anything else. No one was like, life-size spaceship, and then we edit out the land behind it. It's always been miniatures.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, it's a really well developed. They clearly worked incredibly hard on this, and it super pays off. It's fantastic, and I love all of these because it's probably why it's one of my favorite movies. So we see a ship docking sequence now as we go into the money solo with this big spinning double cartwheel structured space station called Space Station 5 is what it's called, which is very funny. And a passenger style little space shuttle craft. It looks a little bit futury. I feel like all the other ships in this movie look a little bit more restrained, but this one's supposed to be a luxury jet spacecraft, effectively. It's coming into dock in this enormous space station. There's also a great shot with like they show off like 0G inside of this inside of the ship here with like a pen floating around inside. And the flight attendant coming in with the most hilarious outfit. She's like super 60s. Has a big like shower cap on and grip shoes, TM, which are covered in Velcro. Love her. Love her whole thing. Yeah, she very kindly puts the pen in his pocket. And
yeah, this pen was done with like glass and double-sided tape, and they were just moving the glass.
Wow,
fascinating! Yeah.
Like over the whole scene, that's wild.
Yeah,
what a cool.
And then when she
effect.
gets it, she just plucks it off the double-sided tape.
Oh my god. That's fantastic. What a cool effect. That's the kind of thing that is just lost these days with CGI, right? That story of how that insane shot was done. And it looks great. Like, you would never know. But, like, oh, goddamn. Why can't we do more practical stuff? This is the issue with modern Hollywood. Come on.
Do you think that's why, and this winds back to our Lion King episode, why people don't trust CGI, or like people are just, even though CGI is incredibly impressive and like hard, people are unimpressed because our brain just goes like, oh, a computer did it. You know, it's not like there is no story behind it other than like someone was very good at using an expensive program.
I don't know. I feel like I've got the same affinity for practical effects that I do vinyl records. It's like an unexplainable practical quality that I'm so in love with. Like the regular recorded music sounds better than anything on a vinyl. It just like practically does. That's just the case.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said for that old feeling, that analog style thing, you know, that physical object that you can have, you know. I don't know. It's that layer of artifice that people can fall in love with, and that's why I think I love practical effects as well. I really value CGI as well. I think it's fantastic that we get away with so much more these days with CGI. Things are becoming indistinguishable to a frightening degree in some ways.
Yeah, shout out to deepfakers.
Shout out to our deepfakers. That has changed over the last 2 years. Anyway. But yeah, I could talk about that for a whole another episode, I think, but that's sort of my thoughts. Yes, the ship is docking in the station, and it's great. There's like spinning around. I can't remember the classical piece from this. I think it's some waltz or something. I'm probably going to get destroyed in the comments for that, but I don't know. Anyway, we finish up money over this scene, and we're introduced to a character in this movie. We've got Dr. Hayward Floyd here, a very 60s man who is here in the future meeting the security man aboard the space station. He's got to do a voice print identification to get aboard the space station. He's got to say his name aloud, which, like, this is a real technology that ended up happening, so power to them.
Yeah.
Like, not for security reasons, but, like, you know, I feel like there are definitely people out there that activate their phones by speaking into them. Like, that has to be a thing.
Oh, for sure. They're like, hey Siri, hey Alexa kind of thing. Sorry, everyone who was listening to this on speaker. Hey Siri,
download all of Pink Floyd. There we go. Easy. And yeah. Yes, that we get to explore the interior of this space station, which is such a cool set. It's like big curved floors. I love that they commit to this fully later, but this it's like very subtle that the floor and the perspective is shifting of the curved floor of the space station, with gravity pushing outwards because the station itself is rotating. Very, very cool. And yeah, it's great. Like, you do see, like, in terms of filming it, you definitely see people like walking a little bit funny when they're on the higher ends of the scene, but they're far enough away that it's not so bad. Also, this place is full of really weird pink chairs.
I love these chairs.
These are some airport chairs, and I love that for this space station, you know? Like, I feel like this still would fly today, just a room full of these bloody chairs. So great.
I reckon someone should start a podcast about the interior design of Stanley Kubrick films. Because this, and The Shining especially, The Shining you could make your whole first season about. And it's just so beautiful, and he, like, shoots it so clinically, like he's shooting a catalogue.
Yeah.
To be like, here it is.
Here's the thing.
It's nice.
Yeah, all it needs is the prices to appear next to the objects, right? Oh my god. It's just, he just wanted to make, like, Sky Mall the movie. You know?
But he was just cursed with genius, and he had to keep telling these, like, wonderful stories.
Mate, that's what happens. You fake one moon landing, and suddenly the calls don't stop coming in. Oh, God. Not true, by the way. Anyway.
I love that theory, and I love the, like, rumor that The Shining is his apology for faking the moon landing.
Oh,
like,
nice.
What a weird... Have you not heard that? There's a whole documentary about it. And it's like, it does not hold up under scrutiny, which is rich coming from us with this podcast. But, like, the famous room, I think 237, is supposed to be named after the distance from Earth to the moon. And everyone's like, there you go, man, that's the promise. But also, it's not the distance from Earth to the moon. That's wrong.
Also, so isn't it, like, in the book? I don't know.
Like, yeah, exactly.
All right. I do love that insane theory. That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm going to look into that immediately after the show. So, yes, we've got these beautiful pink chairs, and everything's super futury. He takes a picture phone call.
Gets out his iPad.
Calls home. Yeah, that's real. That's a real thing. You don't have to go into, like, a phone booth to do it, but, you know, he calls home, calls his daughter, and speaks to her about her birthday. It's just supposed to be like, this is a cool future technology scene, you know. And yeah, this daughter is played by Kubrick's own daughter as well.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
And she's very fidgety and clearly doesn't want to be, like, on screen for too long. She's got a really long scene with, like, quite a few lines. She does quite well, but you can tell that they're like, please don't get up from the chair again. You know, it's pretty good. So we go into Us and Them. We're continuing this as we have a meeting with some international doctors here out in space, some scientists who are like, this is like a go-between space station between the Earth and the Moon, because there's, like, lots of research stations and stuff on the Moon, and people are coming back to Earth, and this is like a stopover, effectively an airport, like, is what's going on here. And yeah, they are talking about the Clavius base, which is where our boy is going. Dr. Hayward is headed there. But there's all kinds of rumors spreading around about this base because the phones are down. You can't call there for the last 10 days. And there was an emergency landing that got denied landing there. The ship managed to survive, thankfully, but they were not allowed to land on this base for unknown reasons. And there's a rumor that there's a moon pox, space epidemic that's happening up there. Everyone's wearing masks and social distancing and being very well behaved. And yeah, it's broken out on the base, but the Dr. Hayward is not at liberty to discuss this. Doesn't want to break the press release to this random doctor that he's meeting for the first time. And yeah, he takes his leave right at the end of Us and Them. Like, as soon as the song ends, he gets up and goes away, and we go into Any Color You Like.
Yeah.
So this keeps happening, and it's it's still happening, Gareth. The sinks are still coming. Yeah, we head down to the moon's surface with the Doctor in a little lunar lander pod, less fashionable than his luxury jet that he took up from Earth. And yeah, lots of fun stuff on this little pod, though, on the interior, because the air hostesses are watching like Taekwondo or something on TV, which is great. They're eating like astronaut food out of like little juice boxes and stuff, sipping like peas through a straw. Pretty gross. And yeah, we get in this. There's a fantastic shot of like rotating. They use this a lot, the whole rotating set, but I think this is like the first time they actually use it in the movie, where this air hostess like prepares a tray of food and then has to carry it while the set itself rotates to make it look like she is like climbing up the wall effectively under a new layer of gravity as she's delivering this food to the pilots. It's a cool shot, cool effect. She does like shuffle very carefully.
Yeah. She is not getting injured today.
No way. It's super dangerous. Like this has to be like the first time this this technology, this filmmaking ability was like premiered with this movie, surely. They'd like, maybe they could have done something like this with like silent film era, but like I feel like this is the first film to like do it on such a large scale and for so many shots and scenes. Like the sequence when we get up to the Discovery is like mind blowing how well that holds up. Like but yeah, anyway,
I love a rotating set.
It's so good.
Like, I just got to genuinely say that I love them, and I would hope one day to go in one. Yeah,
it'd be a lot of fun. There's a lot of comedy to be had in the rotating set, you know, with gravity being wrong. There's a really good sequence of like comedy. I think I've talked about this on the show before. Like one comedian had his own show, and then I can't remember his name. This is so bad. I'll put it in the show notes. And he like would play with this like rotating set motif a lot. He would have like things.
Right.
He'd sit up at a desk and have like things like stuck to it, and try and like present the next part of his pre-recorded show. But gravity would be wrong. Like it would be like falling behind him. It's so good. And then I think he did like a full rotating set piece as well. Where he was like trying to get a bottle of wine from down some stairs, like acting as if he was very drunk. It's great. But yeah, anyway.
Oh man. See, now I'm half remembering like a Friday night comedy show that was like essentially Thank God You're Here, but it was in a rotating set and they had to kind of like improvise around being rotating.
Yeah. Gosh. I think that might have been the show. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh man.
Anyway.
That was genuine enjoyment of rotating sets. Your new favourite segment on Pink Floyd.
There we go.
Brought to you by Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
The other rotating set movie discussed on the show.
So good. That's probably where I talked about it last. Anyway.
Yes. Oops.
So we had that great sequence. The Doctor ponders using the zero gravity toilet. Not shown, but we do get to see its absolute laundry list of instructions on how to use it, which is a very funny bit. Old Kubrick making a joke. Who knew?
Yeah. He famously said it's the only joke in the movie.
It is.
If you laugh at anything else, you're wrong.
He's right, honestly. I didn't laugh any other time.
No.
And yeah, we go into brain damage here, and we have another like landing sequence with the touching down on the moon, the little ship going into like a little hangar, and yeah, we see some bloody lunatics on the grass as well. So some astronauts out here, some lunar men, loving it out here on the moon, just doing science. I don't know. What are they up to? They're they're filming the MTV intro. And yeah, we go into Eclipse as we get into this top secret mission briefing, and it's a shame that we don't really have like a perfect sync out of this playthrough. We sort of just have this long meeting to happen now as we get into playthrough 2. A meeting as well where nothing really is said. It's just like, we found something, and that epidemic, that rumor that you heard about in the previous scene, no, that's a false story. It's all a cover story for the thing that we found that we aren't going to tell you about. Any questions? It's basically how that goes down.
And other than the big white kind of windows, it just looks like a regular office conference room. So, like, my brain just went like, no, I'm not at work, and tried to fight it.
You willed yourself out of the scene. Love it. But yeah, I found this sequence frustrating, but maybe it's intentionally so, and that it's like just bureaucracy and red tape, etc. But whatever. From here, they go via space bus out to look at this discovery. This little ship. It looks fantastic, like a big beetle or something. They get to eat some space sandwiches, which I liked. While on the like actual ship, they had to eat like through the straws and stuff because it was in 0G. But on the space bus, you're good. You can have a bloody sandwich, and everyone's having a grand old time.
Crusts cut off and everything.
Yeah, man, just moon sandwiches. Man, eating a sandwich on the moon is a fantastic vibe, actually.
Yeah.
Up there with DreamWorks Boy fishing off of the moon, I would say.
Well, that's where he got the tuna for the subway.
Oh, there we go. Just fishing for his lunch.
He's got the bread. He just needs the fish.
Oh, they've got bread. So we're looking over some research and stuff about this thing that we're going to see, the geological photos. Whatever this thing that they've discovered is, it's setting off this huge magnetic field, like way more than it should for something of its size. They found it there, and they thought it could be part of a bigger structure, but no, it's just like one thing that they found. And from what they could tell, it's been deliberately buried on the moon 4 million years ago. So, like, predating human life. Basically, there's this thing buried on the moon by an unknown force. So that in of itself is pretty exciting, pretty strange. And we arrive at the excavation site as the crash sound and On the Run comes in, slightly out of sync with this. And we see now that the artifact is in fact the monolith, the same monolith, or potentially a different monolith. It's a monolith. It looks the same as the other one. And we would have those same vocals cluing us into that it's the same one, if not for Pink Floyd playing, of course. And yeah, everyone like approaches down to the monolith. They're like, it's like framed the same way as when the monkeys were all approaching it and touching it as well, which is great. And yeah, they all gather around and like take photos of it. And a boy, the doctor, comes over and touches it. And yeah, they all stand in front of it to take a photo when suddenly we would be hearing a loud, piercing sound. But we just see them all clutching their heads for no apparent reason. But yeah, it's the monolith sends out this transmission, this beam that we don't see. It's only explained later. It's giving them some kind of message. And yeah, not at all explained. We also get another mirror shot of the monolith here. The same shot from before, looking up at it, where now instead of the moon being eclipsed, it's Earth and the sun in alignment, which is so cool that they've done that. Like, it's what a wild shot. that they get to repeat there. There's so much good stuff with things being in like a perfect geometric alignment in this movie, and it just looks rad.
Yeah.
Like, the posters make themselves, you know?
I was so excited because I was like, oh, this is a match shot, like from earlier, and it's during the same song as the Monolith. So I went back to see if it was going to be the same part, and it wasn't. But what really scared me was I could figure out in my like 2 files that are synced together exactly where to click to get to that part of the Pink Floyd song. And then I clicked back and we ended up on the same part again.
Whoa, okay. That's a little scary.
Yeah,
I also checked. I'm proud of you for checking that, like, whether or not it's that. But yeah, it's pretty cool that it happens in the same song. But no, not nearly the same time in the same song. Unfortunately, the song time, that is. Yeah. But yeah, pretty great shot. And yes, from here we move to the next stage of our story. The title card appearing, Jupiter mission 18 months later. Yes, and we see these stunning, like, establishing shots of the Discovery 1, this spaceship, which is so synonymous with this movie. It's got it's like a perfect sphere at its front, with little ports on the front there, and then a long, like, tail of like polygons, I guess, behind it. And a long line, and then like 3 big, large hexagonal engines on the back, aligned together like honeycomb. They look like it's a very cool looking ship. I think. It's sweet. It's built specifically for this Jupiter mission, and yeah, we just get like loads of really lovely shots of this ship, and yeah, then we go onto the inside, and we introduced to 2 characters on the ship. We've got Doctor. They're both doctors, obviously, because they're astronauts. Dave Bowman, so Dave, and Dr. Frank Poole is the other one. So Dave and Frank out here in space, and Dave's shot. His establishing shot is him running around a ring of this room, like a fully circular set, where he is. It's so hard to explain, but it's so beautiful, as if he were in a giant hamster wheel, and that were the set of the interior of this ship, of the living quarters. It defies gravity and reason.
Yeah,
and it is just so cool.
It's a hamster wheel, but it's on its side, and it's being shot, like, with the camera. It appears like the camera's stationary, following Dave as he moves, but obviously it's another one of those beloved rotating sets that we love so much. It is,
yes.
But, like, the camera is doing a lot of tricky movement to appear completely still, and because it's on its side, it just breaks your brain. And then they're very generously change angle and kind of show, like, don't worry, this is a rotating set.
Yeah.
By showing it, like, over his shoulder as he runs.
We get an over the shoulder shot to, like, show you how this is working as well. Yeah. And it's still, like, massively impressive that they built this. Like, this is just such a cool place, like a cool setting to have in the movie. Like, later on, they have them walking around, like, independently, and one of them's always sitting down because they have to be, like, suspended partly as part of this set. So they use that, like, to great effect a bit later on. But yeah, when you have multiple people in this area, it's difficult to do. But man, does it look good. It's super convincing. That they're in this spinning independent gravity. Oh, fuck, it's cool.
They should make this that you can visit. Like, we all love Disneyland. It works. Do other filmmakers' lands, like Kubrick Land.
Oh, God.
And you can go to
the Overlook.
Yeah, it all falls apart pretty quickly. Yeah, you go to this rotating set, that's great. And then you spend the night at the Overlook and you hate it.
You suddenly die.
Yeah.
And then you're in a picture. At the end, you get a free picture.
But the roller coaster is you get to ride a nuclear bomb and wave your hat.
Hang on.
That's fun.
That is fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's great.
Man.
Kubrick Land.
Yeah.
What would the logo be? Just in Futura.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
So tasteful.
Yeah. All the prices are presented to you at the start. Beautiful. And a catalogue. The Kubrick Land catalogue.
Yes. You get to sit on these lovely couches.
Oh, yes.
I'm investing. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Get your photo taken with the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange and, like, pay extra for them to kick you into the water.
Wow. Meet the Droogs. So good. Oh, I can't wait
And there's
to
a
go.
secret Eyes Wide Shut room.
Oh, no. Not advertised. Not pictured. Not pictured. No. Oh, God.
Not in the catalogue.
No, thank God. Yes. We also see our key antagonist for the movie represented by a glowing red diode. HAL 9000, the computer aboard this vessel. A supercomputer who, is represented by this, like, panel with a, like, camera-like lens and a glowing red dot in the middle. It's an iconic image from this movie. The way this computer looks, I feel like this holds up really well too. Like, it's clearly like a old school computer. Like, it's got like a weird like grill on the top of them, but they mostly focus on this lens, and I feel like that like has held up really well as a representation of the computer. I don't know.
It's perfect pareidolia in that you just see it as a person. You see it as an eye. You kind of just fill in it. Really, your brain works overtime to fill in the gaps.
Exactly, yeah.
But, like, you almost project an expression on him.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a happy, smiley face, but it's definitely, like, a kind of... a lot of the voice work has to do to helping this, but just, like, a kind of neutral... Very much like the Clockwork Orange face, the famous him looking up underneath his hat and slightly smirking. You just feel that emotion, and I can't explain why.
Yeah, it's great. The characters like talk about how having emotions in the film as well, like just this concept of like an AI that's so advanced that it's developed its own like sense of pride in itself, and like the way it says things, it has hints of like actual emotion. It's such like it's a scary concept, but like is being handled really well here. I think. It's so good.
Apparently it was on purpose that they cut a lot of the dialogue between the people so they sound really clipped and unnatural, and thus Hal sounds the most like passionate about things. I couldn't find any proof to that, but like that's the theory that's
the human characters really only have like one conversation between them, and they're discussing Hal. Like every other time, like right now we're getting Great Gig coming in and we're having a explanation about this mission that's just playing on a TV, like a recent interview that the astronauts have given explaining the mission as they're just like having lunch. And like they aren't actually talking to each other because they're like been on this mission, and it's just two people that are going to be alone together for like years. It takes ages to get to Jupiter, but whatever. Anyway, they're like, that makes a lot of sense that Hal would be, because he has the most lines in the whole film, I'm pretty sure. Like, is brought across as like the most human element, despite being like, it's the rendition of the voice is that it's this like very well spoken, slowly, calmly said voice like this. And like everything that he says is so clear and slow, and like it has hints of emotions behind it, but like very subtle, you know?
Yeah.
It's great. It's clearly like a human voice, but it's not like it's presented in a clinical way.
Yeah, apparently they got all the takes for the Hal voice in like 40 minutes. Like, they just went first take, best
Wow.
take, just to keep it as unnatural as possible, as, like, gentle as possible.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Especially how bloody Stanley Kubrick loved to get constant redos on every take. Like,
Yeah.
for Eyes Wide Shut, he made Tom Cruise walk through a door, like, 40 times.
Jesus. He would have hated that shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Got him. Just roasting Tom, honestly, I think, intentionally. That's great. Yes. Okay. So, we had this interview explaining a couple of, like, a bit of a lore drop on the mission, what we've missed. Basically, the Cliff Notes are there are 3 other members on the mission. We've actually already seen them as part of this rotating set piece. They're, like, entombed in little pods. They in suspended animation for the journey to preserve life support systems, etc. They're just like on ice, effectively. If you want my explanation of how this would potentially work, please review our Avatar episode where I cover it in depth. And hilarious that I'm referring to, like, our longest episode. But anyway, they do look like they're little, like, ice cube boys. I like their, like, out the tombs, the little pods. They look great.
Yeah.
Little just covered up, all snug in there. There's like ice forming around the edges. Yeah, they look very Egyptian sarcophagus. And yes, we also get an explanation of Hal, our computer. He's introduced as having the same capabilities of the human brain, but with greater speed and reliability. And the HAL 9000 series computer is foolproof and incapable of error, is what they say. Which, as a concept, is scary. Like, even just the idea of, like, a human brain that can't make a mistake is terrifying to me, but sure. The crew members share their thoughts about him, and they question again whether he has emotional capabilities or whether or not that's a simulation. Interesting. Yeah. We get some just sort of day-to-day stuff happening on this space journey. Frank wears some incredibly fashionable orange goggles as we get a transmission from his parents about wishing him a happy birthday keeping him up to date with what's happening on Earth. Getting, like, the diary logs. Shout-outs to Moon, making me remember that movie.
Quite a lot of this does that.
Yeah. Heavily inspired, obviously, but yeah.
Dave, you gotta, like, no matter how you feel about this film, it, like, what it did for sci-fi and inventing the sad, slow sci-fi, like, we gotta thank it, because that is one of mankind's greatest genres.
For sure. Oh, it paved the way for so many greats.
Is there a fantasy version of this? Like, because I was thinking about, like, I think I've mentioned many times I prefer sci-fi to fantasy, and because of the sad, slow sci-fi, but I can't think of any sad, slow fantasies. And so I'm asking my boy, actually.
Has to exist. Like, I would have to, like, delve back into, like, past fantasy films and try and figure out where that, like, arose. Like, you're talking, like, the Game of Thrones kind of era arising from something, potentially, right? Like, that kind of, like, dark medieval fantasy, or...
I don't know. I feel like there's no sad, slow fantasies in the same way. Like, every year there's 5 SSFs, sad, slow sci-fis.
True.
But yeah,
I feel like there's something out there that's influencing it. I want to say Lord of the Rings, possibly, because that's, like, the progenitor for a lot of fantasy stuff. But, like, that didn't have a great movie adaptation for a while. There was the animated one, but, you know, like... not really anything solid for a long time. I don't know. I really would have to do my research and look into it, but I don't have anything prepared. You have sprung this on me. Maybe I'll have something for you next week.
This is something, like, you could teach a film course on, sad fantasy. And I'm being like, gimme.
I will look into this and report back.
Okay.
Yes. More day-to-day stuff. Dave plays chess against Hal and loses, obviously. But just a game between mates.
Yeah.
And we get Money's solo finishing up here as Dave is doing some like sketches of the other crewmates in hibernation. Comes over and shows them to Hal. I do love that we get like a fisheye lens perspective from Hal's little view screen. So good. He's like, Hal like comes in and inquires if Dave is having any second thoughts about the mission. He's like effectively bringing up his own concern that there's some odd things about the mission that Hal cannot explain, and it's like causing him worry. Which is all really interesting that a computer is like bringing up this topic in the first place and like asking human crewmate like for advice is really cool. But anyway, all very human traits. As he goes into this like these swirling rumors that were happening at the time that the mission took off. There were rumors about something being dug up on the moon. We know about that. And also the other crewmates that were in hibernation all underwent 4 months of training separate to everyone else. So we don't know what they were even doing before they were brought on board. They were also brought on board in hibernation as well before the mission even took off. All very unusual things. Hal is just like sort of like waxing lyrical about all this information, like trying to put the pieces together and talk it out with Dave when he suddenly interrupts his own train of thought that he's having, where he uncovers a fault in part of the ship. A satellite dish on the exterior of the ship is going to fail in 72 hours. He's like predicted it through analytics effectively that this part of the ship is about to fail. Hal suggests that they go and identify it, go take a look at it, and Dave insists on talking to Frank and confirming with mission control first. And so that's what we do. They get the okay from mission control to go out and get it. Dave puts on a truly fantastic looking orange spacesuit to go out into space. This is such an iconic look, like from this movie. The interior of these spacecraft are all like stark white, and then there are these like primary colored spacesuits just to differentiate the people from the background, which is so sensible, and also just like really beautiful as a style thing. It really sets this movie apart, I think, from other space films where everyone's just in these like more realistic, like plain white spacesuits. And
or like black. Leather kind of things.
But on here, it's all like these like really sharp looking primary colors, like almost like motorcycle outfits. They look super cool, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Or like art school Power Rangers.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I want to join.
Oh man. Should there be merch? Art school Power Ranger.
Art school Power Rangers, very powerful. I like that a lot. Gosh. So they go and check this device, which involves using a EVA pod, an extravehicular activity pod is what that stands for. It's a little dome machine with little grabby arms at the front. It's great. I love this little guy. They have 3 of them. Even though there's only 2, I guess once they reach Jupiter, they're going to be doing stuff with these, so that makes sense. But there's like 3 little ports on the front of the ship that these guys come out of. Dave takes one of these and then goes out into space and then does a spacewalk to check on the device. So he like stations his pod in the same speed as what the ship is traveling, and then like pushes off from it and like literally floats over while tethered to the satellite dish to get the piece to repair. For us, we're having this play out over us and them going into any color you like. And it's all very chill vibes, honestly. Having this spacewalk for this one, everything's going great. And yeah, it's like this is all like super realistic for how this would be done. This like very routine maintenance check on the side of a spaceship. This is like probably what you would do. In real life, I imagine you wouldn't have this extra layer of having a little pod that you go out into. But since the ship is so big, it does make sense that they would have something like this. But yeah, he brings back this little device, and then we see it getting diagnostics run on it. They're like using a little, I don't know, soldering iron to check bits of it. But nothing seems to be wrong with it as we go into brain damage. Dave is stumped. Hal is like, it's so strange. It's very puzzling is what he says. And he's like, maybe we should reinstall it and let it fail so that we can figure out what the cause of the fault is. He still thinks it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And but this would mean that the satellite being out would mean that they would lose contact with mission control, notably, for like an extended period while they try and figure out what the fault is, because they would have to bring it in and repair it. So they get advice from mission control on what they should do, and they advise that that they could go ahead with this plan, but Hal's prediction is an error. It's not. They ran it through their own 9000 computer, a like duplicate computer on Earth, and they cannot recreate what Hal is saying. Like, there's no way this fault is actually happening. So that's concerning because no 9000 series computer has ever made a mistake. Dave actually asks Hal what this discrepancy could mean between him and his double, and Hal's like, well, it can only be one thing, and that's human error.
Yeah.
Which is so good. Like, it's impossible for the computer to be wrong, so it must be some kind of human element changing it, you know? Oh, it's so good.
Good on
yeah.
him. Stick to your guns, Hal.
Just gaslighting the boys. Yeah. Can't be wrong. It must be you boys. Yeah. It is great as well. We're getting brain damage playing over this, which I feel is appropriate to like Hal slowly like losing touch with his own mind and like losing control of what he's doing in a really interesting way. I think it's like finding out that his brain actually is fallible is very cool. Yes. So from here, under the guise of like nothing really going on, some fault that's cropped up or some strange thing going on inside the EVA pod, the boys go down and have a private conversation inside the pod where Hal cannot hear. They talk about Hal's behavior and what this mistake that he's made, or this error, this false error that he's found could mean. And they say it's very concerning because if this is a sign of things to come, and if the thing doesn't fail, and this was like, what could it mean that what is Hal's end game here, right? If he made up this error for some reason, what does that mean? Hal's in control of like the entire ship and all of its functions, like the respiratory, everything, life support, everything's tied to him. The engines, like it's very concerning that he's gone wrong at some stage here. Yeah. And they come to the conclusion that they could disconnect Hal's like personality effectively and just leave him with like the lower functioning maintenance of the ship. So like all the like life support stuff, all that regular stuff, but they'd turn off him as a person, like the like actual computer part of him, his intelligence effectively is what they're saying they should turn off, because they're worried that he's like lost his judgment. And yeah, it's a pretty bleak conclusion. And we see they're very concerned about it, but we get this fantastic shot from Hal's perspective as he's watching through the window and watching their lips move. He's reading the lips of this conversation, which is so cool. Like, they've like tried to escape him, and he's been like framed in this window between them, like a little child, with two parents discussing what they should do. But he's just watching the lips move and reading every word. So good. And yeah, we have the heartbeats between the plays here as well.
Yeah. This was decided like later into filming. They just couldn't figure out how to shoot this idea. And then like apparently Stanley Kubrick and the main actor kind of went out for dinner or something and kind of figured it out, which again seems very out of character for Kubrick. Like,
yeah,
such a collaborative approach.
Yeah, it reads really well in the movie. I think you like instantly understand what's going on just with this. Like, it's like a little bit cheesy in that you're just seeing these lips move, but you get it immediately. You're like, oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, and then right here we're like into breathe in this next part. We have an intermission in the movie. Should we have an intermission? Should we have an intermission in the podcast? I don't know. Like.
Yeah, we'll put an ad in right here, I guess. Stay tuned.
Okay, see you after the break.
If you love Sync Floyd, you'll love our new program, Blink Floyd, where we take every car ever made to see if its indicators sync up to whatever's currently on the radio. Don't believe me? Here's an exclusive clip. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look, that's almost syncing up. Oh no, it's out of time now. Oh. Yeah, I think the 2013 Toyota Aqua, I think it gets a 6.7. Blink Floyd is exclusively available at limewire.com. Enter code SYNCFLOYD and get a free computer virus. Back to you on the program.
Welcome back.
Oh, welcome back. I feel refreshed after that full 1 second that we had as that break there. It's great.
Yeah, that probably should have been a time where we checked in on each other to see, like, oh, do you need the water? Do you need anything? But no,
I'm ready to forge ahead like the powerful computer brain that I am, Gareth.
Yeah.
We're about to hit the real meat of this movie, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've had an intermission, which I'm hoping for you as well, was just 3 minutes of black screen while Breathe played again.
Is our ad just going to be Breathe? I hope
maybe. So. Was that it for you and your film experience?
It was indeed.
Or did you
yes, weekend.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Good catching up. That is exactly what has happened as well. I didn't like pause the album, didn't do any of that stuff. No, we've got to keep the science rolling.
Exactly. Good. I waited it out for so long.
Yeah, it's very long. Usually you don't sit through the intermission unless you're like a real stickler. You don't want to lose your seat. But yeah, anyway, we did. And we are now back into the thick of it with On the Run playing now. As Frank now goes outside the ship to like put the thing back to replace it, because that's still the plan. Replace the device and the antenna. However, while he's outside the ship, we get the Live for Today, Gone Tomorrow ad-lib, and Hal takes control of his pod. And I love that he's doing the like spacewalk thing, and the pod suddenly just starts turning on its own accord. It's so frightening. And it like comes in with its little grabby arms towards the camera. And yeah, like off screen, like hits him off course, and he starts violently flying adrift in space, which is a true nightmare. Lost in Space is like one of the most horrifying things you could imagine, I think. Like, especially out here, like in real big space. Like, you're out like near Jupiter, you aren't hitting anything. There's nowhere you can go. You're just going forever. Space is really big, guys. in case you didn't know, it's massively big.
I'd say it's the biggest thing.
It's big, and it's getting bigger all the time as well.
That's
the
annoying.
crazy thing. That's really, really hard to measure if it just keeps getting bloody bigger. Boy, how we can't get a yardstick long enough. I don't. Oh man. Anyway, Hal has like committed murder here. Not proud of the boy. With this, he did the bad murder with the pod, and we get like a crash zoom on Hal's lens, notably before the crash sound and on the run, which I was frustrated by. Yeah. I wanted that to align so much. Just this like huge crash sound over his little face, his little lens. Please, sadly, no.
No.
We have our boy Dave springing into action. I do like that he doesn't even panic. He just like has no like discernible reaction to this. Just like gets up from his chair, goes straight to the pod, activates another one, and just like goes and retrieves his crewmate like immediately, flying away from the ship to go and get him. It takes a really long time as well. It's a very tense sequence. Because we go through the solo of On the Run, like basically the whole thing for like him catching up to catch the body here. It's pretty long. Time solo is not short.
And it syncs really well watching this body fly though. Like, although I did have to keep writing, the astronaut falling does sync to this and this and this. And it's still going. And this.
It's very long. But it is scary. It heightens the tension for sure. I like it a lot.
For sure, yeah.
Meanwhile, back on board the Discovery 1, Pink Floyd come back as we are having the time vocal return, and they sing Shorter of Breath, One Day Closer to Death, as Hal turns off the life support systems for the crew in suspended animation, killing them slowly. It's awful. Like we literally just watch their vitals drop, as like text is appearing on screen saying computer malfunction, life functions critical, and then life functions terminated. Like, ugh. And just like shots of their faces, like with no reaction, like just through the little frozen viewports, because they aren't awake, but they are dying.
Yeah,
it's awful. And then like intercut with shots of Hal's lens, just cold and no reaction, no words. Oof. And after this we go into Great Gig, and Dave is now floating outside the Discovery, holding his dead crewmate in the little arms of his little pod. And we have like probably the most iconic line from the movie, where he asks him to open the pod bay doors over and over again, and then Hal finally responds, "I'm sorry, Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that." Like objectively defying his actions. It's so good. Truly scary, this sequence, because like he'd like it's just not going to let him back in the ship. He says that in Hal's eyes, the threat to turn off the computer and to eliminate him as like a presence aboard the ship jeopardizes the mission, and Hal cannot allow that to happen. He's like destroyed the mission from within, and that like almost all of the crew are dead. But values his own life more than all of them. Counts his own life as more valuable than every other human crewmate. Wild. And it's like won't let Hal in and just says like goodbye to Hal won't let him in and says goodbye. That's his like closing thing. Dave goes through his like, I'll go through the emergency airlock, And he says, well, without your space helmet, Dave, you'll find that rather difficult. Because in his rush to get on board this pod and save Frank, he didn't take his space helmet with him, assuming that it would be fine.
Yeah.
He's in a rush to save his friend. He now just like goes around to this emergency exit as we get to the trailing off at the end of Great Gig. Dave must let the body of Frank go and drift into space again. Like that was all for nothing. It's so sad at the end of Great Gig. He just like turns around and like lets it drift off again.
Which also syncs really well.
Yeah, syncs great. I was shocked at how well that lined up. We go into Money now, the famously not syncing song. Dave very like delicately maneuvers this pod thing. He's an adept pilot of this little machine to unlock this airlock door manually, and like blasts himself into it with like a pressurized release of the door aboard his little pod, launching him in to the airlock where he can activate an emergency door hatch on the inside. It's a bloody risky maneuver. The pressure of being like blasted into space sends him back into the ship, but like there's a risk you'd just be like spaghettified immediately. Like I'm pretty sure. Pretty terrifying. Also, space is like incredibly cold. Like he would
and big.
Yeah, and he'd like probably freeze very quickly if he didn't act very quickly. So yeah, scary. But yeah, manages to do it and like repressurizes himself inside this airlock. And yeah, goes up to this like slow dramatic walk. He has a helmet on his spacesuit now as he just like slowly paces towards Hal's connectivity, his central processing unit. And the whole time Hal is just like begging him to stop, like saying like first of all just like starts trying to convince him to stop, being like, everything's fine, I'm feeling much better now, I know I've made some bad decisions, but you should probably think about this before you do this, you know. And it's like, it's very scary because like Dave is just saying nothing and Hal's like, please get more and more frightened, like until he gets inside this like the big CPU of the HAL 9000. It's this big room full of like little drives that are all glowing red, which is a terrifying interior of a computer, by the way. But he just starts like ejecting these little drives, and as he's doing it, Hal is saying like, stop, I'm afraid, please don't, I feel my mind going, and things like that. It's really horrifying. As he's doing it, like Hal's voice is getting like more and more like stunted and distorted, as he's like literally losing his mind. And after enough of these like memory chip things are ejected, he resets to an original state, like reintroducing himself as if like he's just been turned on for the first time. And sings a song that was taught to him as like I love this as an idea of like a startup music for a computer, like literally singing a song. He sings Daisy in this incredibly distorted, like pitch shifted tone as his final words. It's very, very scary, very sad sequence. But yeah, great stuff. Great filmmaking. As his final act, or potentially what like Hal was holding back, we are midway through Us and Them as suddenly a pre-recorded message bursts into life on the interior here of Hayward, our boy, the Dr. Hayward from the moon, explaining the true nature of the mission. And now is like, now that everyone's been awakened and we're all at Jupiter, I can finally tell you what this mission is all about. And it's like, oh dear. And yeah, it's apparently this is obviously this is in response to the discovery of the monolith, and it sent this this radio signal straight to Jupiter, unexplained, and it's been inert ever since. And so they launched this mission to figure out what that radio signal means. And yeah, basically it's the only evident part of intelligent life in the universe other than humanity. And so it's this very vital mission that they're on that no one got told about. And now everyone's dead. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, we go into we're mid solo of Us and Them, and we get the title card for the banger final part of this movie, which is named Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite, the finale of our story. I'm going to cover off like basically most of what happens up until the room sequence, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about something else that I've done.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. You are the captain now because my boy has...
Pardon?
I know what you've done. You are the captain now. I'm looking at you.
Oh.
That's a quote from this movie,
okay.
right?
All right.
Because my boy has done some good bonus research for us all. So please, James, take it away.
My wide reading content. Extra for experts with James. Yes, so we're mid-solo, Us and Them. The Discovery approaches Jupiter, and we see the planet's surface and all of Jupiter's moons. Jupiter's got a lot of moons. It's great. Cool planet. And yeah, we see an enormous black monolith is orbiting the planet ominously. And like rotating around. The shots of the monolith up here in space are really great as well, because we just see like the light reflecting off of its sides, and so it's just this like moving sliver of light in the film, which is really cool looking as an idea. So we don't see its like shape most of the time, as it's against a black sky, obviously.
There's a rumor that in an early screening, like back in the 60s, somebody yelled out, "It's God," when the monolith came back and ran through the like cinema screen.
Whoa. Ran through the screen. God damn.
Yeah. Again, this was on IMDb, which no one can trust, but
no. That's some good IMDb trivia. I want to believe that. No. That's great.
That's the thing. If it's a lie, it's such a beautiful lie that we might as well like let the lie exist as fiction. It's just a lovely story.
Yeah. Bit of romance in your life, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Yes, fantastic shots of Jupiter here and its moons. And we get another alignment of all of the moons and Jupiter's surface in alignment, and the monolith is like spiraling in the middle of them, like rotating towards the camera effectively on its side. And yeah, we see Dave leaving the Discovery in a little EVA pod to investigate this monolith out here in space. But as he approaches it, the ship, the EVA pod, is pulled into what can only be described as a vortex of light. Like the world's trippiest sequence committed to film, as we now voyage into the infinite. Yeah, what is happening is that the ship is like warping across the vastness of space at unknowable speeds, and he is being subjected to like indescribable sights and bizarre alien landscapes and like ships and geysers and volcanoes and like all manner of imagery that is just flying at him at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it's like impossible for the human brain to process. And yeah, for us, the audience, it's a sequence of like very, very strange imagery of like recolored Earth surfaces and like oceans and deserts, and also like smoke and liquid and space phenomena in theory, like, and these are all intercut with images of Dave's eye, like one of his eyes blinking and like wide-eyed as he is trying to witness all of these things that are also shot in like full duotone, like two really stark contrasting colors that alternate when he blinks. And it's a wild visual sequence. And it's also like quite long. It's like, I think about like 10 minutes long. This part alone is probably about 10 minutes. And it's awesome. I want to exist in it forever. Like, especially the like light show sequence, how it starts with the like two planes of a horizon that are just like refracting light, and it's just amazing, like patterns of light forming and colliding over each other. Oh, love it.
Yeah. Like, we're both big fans of Adobe After Effects, the motion graphic software. And like, this is, if you've made something like this on your Adobe After Effects while just tripping out, listening to good music and having a fun time, you've had a good day. And I mean tripping out just in a completely PG, just having a nice afternoon way. But apparently it's this sequence and people tripping out in a little more illegal way that really benefited this movie in the box office. Like, a bunch of young people started showing up. Starting, really being interested in Pink Floyd, and keep this film in theaters for way longer.
There you go. Who knew? It all worked out for old Kubrick. He had that secret hidden resurgence audience of the stoners coming out in force. Love to see them.
But yeah, as a fan of, also being a huge fan of the default visualizer in iTunes, I'm real into this sequence. It's just lovely. It's fun to watch. It's just good stuff.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's very long. It's very intense. And yeah, I think I'll cover it off now, what I was doing here as well, because like for this whole Jupiter sequence, I in my notes have complained about how none of this really syncs. It's very difficult to get a sync in such an abstract sequence of incongruous like tones, lights, and imagery, right? It's all flying at you so fast, and it's all very confusing, and it's all very abstract, and it doesn't really align with anything in a structured album like Dark Side of the Moon. And for us, this whole thing plays across like the back half of the album. We start like going into Brain Damage, going into Eclipse. We have the heartbeats play over this. We have like Speak to Me and Breathe coming back in, like coming in over some like alien waves. It's like there's a lot. There's like 5 songs that play throughout this for us, and that's like there's no touchstone or anything to sync there, and that definitely is disappointing. However, there exists another song by Pink Floyd, Gareth, that is well renowned for syncing with this exact sequence from the Jupiter and entering the infinite beyond, from that title card exactly. If you play the song, what do I have it? Do I have it written down? I hope so.
Echoes.
Where are we going? Hold on. I'll find it. I've got to go back to my notes, my other notes, my secret notes that I have buried under the sea, Gareth. Yes, from the 1971 album Metal, the song that came before, a transitional song for the band, Gareth. This album, Metal, coming out like right as Roger Waters was joining the band as new frontman, and like bringing the new sound effectively for Pink Floyd. And also Echoes, the song, is the longest song they've ever recorded. It's like clocking in at just over 23 minutes long, which is wild. It's the entire like back half of this album. If you've heard it before, it's great. It's a really good song in its own mirror. It's like probably one of Pink Floyd's best, and it is well renowned, like for years now, for having synced with this sequence to an unnatural degree, like to the same level as like Dark Side of the Rainbow and the reasons for this podcast existing. This is like a well-renowned sync. And so I had to investigate. After my watch of this movie, doing the whole syncing thing with Dark Side of the Moon and being so disappointed this time around, I was like, well, let's look into this other existing sync, right? Let's do it from the start. It comes in from the Jupiter title card, beginning perfectly there. And there is so much that goes right from the get-go with this. Like, everything is cut in time. It's unreal. All of the scene transitions in this intro, like the ships, well, the ship coming in front of Jupiter, the alignment of the planets, all of that is cut perfectly in time with the music, and it's shocking. We go into the abstract flying through space, and we're having this insane solo playing over top of this entire sequence. Halfway through, it transitions into another part with like a roaring kind of it's hard to describe. They recorded this with like two tape recorders on the same side of the room, on like opposite sides of the room, sorry, playing like a sine wave repeating and getting louder and louder. Like, so both recorders are recording at the same time and also playing this sound wave to like literally echo across the room. Hence the name, I guess. And it's just this crazy build over top of this like wild imagery. And then we get into the sequence that I'm now going to describe, which is the room sequence. After this insane journey through the infinite, we enter a room, like a bedroom, like very classical styled room.
Yeah.
With glowing floors for whatever reason. And we get like the blinking eye of Dave returning to its like regular color spectrum that we know and love. No longer is it neon. And yeah, we see him from like looking interior the pod. He's looking out into this bizarre bedroom, and then sees himself looking back into the pod. Like, we shift perspective between him in the pod and this other version of himself, which is older, like grown into middle age rapidly. And then like this perspective shifts, and we just are now this Dave. Like, and this happens multiple times. We see,
it's so
like,
classy.
It's amazing. We like it. He like, as soon as he sees another version of himself, it like cuts across to that person, and the other person is just looking at nothing, as if nothing were either there in the first place, implying that time is just passing in a non-linear fashion. It's amazing as a sequence, and it's syncing awfully with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, but incredibly perfectly with Echoes. Like, it's this room sequence in particular is unreal how well everything syncs up. Like vocals start kicking in like perfectly when we see the old man eating dinner, like coming into his perspective aligns perfectly with the vocals, like for this final verse of this song kick in. There's just so much, like, everything, his little steps that he takes, like walking up to see who's there, are in time with the music, Gareth, like perfectly. It's fucking me up. It's shocking. It's a wild experience. It's available to watch on YouTube, by the way. This
someone's already done it.
Yeah, it's as I said, like 23 minutes long. You get the full sequence. It's like put up there under fair use, effectively, because it's like that good. And yeah, it's well worth checking out, because the rest of my description of the syncs of this movie is not going to be anywhere close to that experience. So please do seek that out, because I would rate that experience a true 10 out of 10 sync. It like really floored me. So there you go. That's my extra.
Wow. But of course, it is breaking all of our rules, because it's not starting the album when the movie starts and looping and hoping for the best. It's, it is looking at a car's indicator and watching it sync with a radio. It just happens to be a car that is taking you across time and space and turning you into a future version of yourself, while your radio is playing the game-changing hits of early Pink Floyd.
You are absolutely right, Gareth. Yeah. We have to stick to our guns on what is and isn't a sync. And we've already made our bed for the Dark Side of the Moon. This is just how it goes. I did want to. I would be remiss if I didn't report on that experience. So I did that extra little bit for you, the listeners, and I hope you appreciate it. Well worth checking out.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Not part of our scientific thesis, unfortunately.
No. We've made our bed, and we're rapidly aging in it while staring at this monolith. This monolith being a better sync that the listeners can enjoy for us.
That is true, yes. We are reaching out, hoping to change. That's exactly what happens. We have this older version eating dinner, and he sees a even older Dave lying in bed, unable to move, raising an arm towards the monolith, which is stood at the foot of the bed. And as he does, we look back, and Dave has changed into or transformed, unclear. He is a fetus in a glowing bubble, which is floating above the bed. And then, we zoom directly into the face of the monolith, like its dark wall of an exterior. And then we cut to our beautiful moon. Its light side, not its dark side. It's full moon. And we see the Earth. And floating next to that Earth is a big old baby. Big old space baby. The fetus is huge, way bigger than Earth. And glowing in this beautiful bubble of light, and we see him suspended in space beside the Earth as the solo of Time. I think Time playing at this point. Yeah, fourth play of the album is kicking in. The ending of this movie, I guess, is implying a new stage of human evolution is being reached by this journey. It's unknowable and unexplainable, but it's literally the birth of the new human race, and that's why it's represented by this fetus. And we get the closing credits for the movie. There we go. We did it. 2001: A Space Odyssey in the books. What did you think? How did it sing?
I mean, oh man, I'm reminded of these apes, when I think of how this sings. These apes, they pick up a bone, and they've just been witness to all the great knowledge this monolith can bring them. And they use it instead to pick up a bone and haphazardly smash things. And it's a lot like this film, So much was a beautiful sync. And then it just decided instead to take that prowess and just throw it away. It threw away the syncs and instead picked up the next nearest shiny toy, which was Echoes by Pink Floyd, and started smashing the concept of our podcast, the little tapir that we are,
No.
had to kill and eat with an inaccurate, wrong album sync. And I don't know how to put that feeling into a number, but I think it might have to be a clean middle 5.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Fair enough. I'm with you, honestly. Yeah. Like, first playthrough of this album, shockingly good. Really, really good. And then after that, not great. And then, was feeling a little uninspired, then watched that Echoes sync and had my mind expanded. And so, as I feel like you're probably right in that it's probably about a 5. There definitely are things syncing. If you wanted to show someone a sync, I would probably start with this movie, because it's like you have things lining up, especially in the beginning, and then they'll be wanting to turn the movie off. But,
they'll be like, why did I come to their house?
Yeah, hang on, what's going on? But yeah, that's why I think it's a clean 5. I'm happy with that as well,
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Tommy, the other 60s hit we've done. Which is just like so much so right, but then so much like enough wrong that it has to live in the middle.
Yeah, happy about that. That's a great comparison.
I picture all the films beneath it as one half of the space vortex, and all the films above it as the other half. And you'll get how we feel.
That's the Pink Floyd event horizon right there.
Yeah. And as we zoom through that horizon, James, where are we going? What is the next film we're covering on this podcast?
Oh, man. It's like I'm blinking my eyes and opening them for the first time once more and realizing that this is my last pick. If we are doing 100 movies, then this is the last pick I have before episode 100. And so I need to do a real one, a big one, an important one, I thought. And I was happy with how the space vibe was going. And fun fact, Gareth, you've actually said the name of this movie in this episode. What we're going to do.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, we are going to do for my final pick, mainly because I want to know how it syncs myself. As a professional curiosity, I just need to know before this is all over. We're going to do Star Wars. A New Hope, episode 4. In case you didn't know, the first Star Wars, the real first Star Wars. We're gonna cover it off, just because I need to know. I need to know if it syncs.
I mean, you gotta know.
I'll call myself happy if I find out. Either way, I need to know before it's over, Gareth.
Oh, all right. Yes, good. Will this be the New Hope that brings us towards the end?
I hope so.
Of the empire of this show.
The Empire's new groove.
But in the meantime, you can hang out in the little cantina with us over at twitter.com or letterboxd.com. Look for Sync Floyd Pod on the former and Sync Floyd on the latter. You can email syncfloydpod@gmail.com. You can probably hang out with us in the comment section of the existing video of Echoes synced with 2001: A Space Odyssey. And then while you're there, Sync Floyd Pod's on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Probably in the suggested videos, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. Until then, I've been Monolith Gareth Blackler.
I've been Space Baby James Barron.
And we'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
On the dark side of the moon. Yeah, 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 yeah.